everybody, and welcome to 12 Days of Gracefulness. I am Grace, as y'all know. You've been with me for a while. You've seen me. If you've not seen me, welcome. I'm glad to have you here with us. So, 12 Days of Gracefulness. It's something that we started last year. Wasn't something I necessarily wanted to start, in all transparency, but I believe in following and being led. And this is something that we're doing just to encourage, inspire, and motivate as we prepare to go into a new year. We are very close to a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions and all the things that we say we're going to do differently in a new year. But I wanted to get some of my friends together and give some practical ways to go forward and just talk about where we've been, what we've done, and how we plan on going forward. So each day we have a different topic, very different, all of them. So I hope that they each encourage you and inspire you, and that you'll also go and follow each of my friends as I introduce them. So today we have the incomparable Terrell Olagbegi, also known as 2.0, also known as my brother, also known as dad, husband. He has a lot of titles, the street apostle, so many things. He is accomplished and amazing. And I wanted to have him talk about something that I know is very crucial and kind of something he lives every day. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot more. I'm going to introduce the topic, and then I'm going to have him talk about that a little bit. So today's topic as we go forward is the cost of the process. All right, so I'm not even going to elaborate. I'm going to let him talk about that. So, the cost of the process. When I brought that to you, Terrell, what did that sound like? What did you automatically hear when I told you that was your topic?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. When I first got the topic, I immediately thought about the cost of production. Um, Almost the same exact thing, but when you're in business, one of the first things that you one of the first things from an operations and logistics standpoint that you have to um do is figure out how much does it cost to produce this thing that I'm supposed to sell and create this valuable product that I'm supposed to sell and take to market. And for me, um, the cost of the process, um, the first word that comes to mind is pain,
Mm,
sacrifice, loss. Um, but if I had to preach it, also the first thing that comes up in mind is John 15, where it talks about every branch of me that bears fruit, he purges it or he cuts it back so that it can basically prunes it so that it can bear more fruit. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Or like my wife does hair, and she always be talking about this stuff, but cutting split ends so
Mm.
that you can have healthy hair, and as it grows, it'll grow as one strong strand versus split strands that are weakened because they're divided. If you got to cut them at least beyond the place that they divided, so that when they grow unified and stronger than they were before.
That's
Um,
good.
so yeah, the cost of the process. I also believe that while we're living and at every moment, um, as long as you're living and not just being existing, um, you are always being processed, produced, and becoming. You don't stop becoming until you're dead or dying. Um, and so I like to believe that everything and everybody with vision, with life, with unfulfilled, talents or gifts or goals, um, you are becoming, you're chasing after that goal, but the process, the journey on the way to accomplishing that thing is the process. And I'll never forget, I was at um I was at Bishop Carswell's funeral, and I was hearing a story about his life and all that he did before he became a pastor. And
Hmm.
it really impacted me because I was like, man, it seemed like the adventure was on the way to becoming a pastor. Once you got to be a pastor or a bishop, it was in cruise control. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some stuff happened. It's like, okay, well, I met this politician. I had the influence now, so I could pull this string. I could do this. I could do that. But it was like, man, like the part that really had me impressed was everything before that, from the volunteering to the relationships that were built, and then 15 years later, you see that this person that I was serving with or doing volunteer work with, you turned into a public servant and I turned into a pastor, but we
Mm-hmm.
can connect and help and benefit more people because I trust you because of the work that we did for the YMCA 15, 20 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
now we've all matured in in our own path, and we're still connected, and we're connected for a greater purpose than what we knew when we first met. Kind of
Absolutely.
like um, but yeah, you don't know that stuff in the moment. You just know that like this is what's happening right now. This is where I'm at right now. I hope to become greater and do more and to be bigger, but what's going on right now is all I can really, focus on. Not knowing that as long as you submit to right now, it'll get you to your tomorrow. It'll get you where you're trying to get to.
That part. And I wanted to just really focus on the process, because a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, creatives, those who are in the midst of things, you can get stuck in the midst of the process. You can get stuck on the pain of, not having support, the pain of feeling like you failed. You can get stuck on those things in the midst of it. And so I wanted you to talk a little more about kind of things that maybe you have felt that you've lost, in the midst of the process, but how that has, in the end, kind of impacted you and actually made you stronger, and catapulted you kind of further than just being stuck in that place.
Okay. One of the first things I can think about was at the moment it felt like loss. Losing my ex-wife. There were if we take the whole God's will and sovereignty, and I love my wife, and I believe she's who I'm with and who I'm meant to be with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but aside from the deep stuff, if we just kind of look at things on paper, there were some areas that I was underdeveloped in that because of the dynamics of that relationship, it it forced me to develop and to become everything I needed to be for my wife. That
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
It is.
Um, yeah, like in a major way, like on some, for whatever reason, there's a plethora of reasons why I could be there, some valid, some not valid, some or whatever. But at the end of the day, either you can or you can't, you are or you are not. And for me, it was like, man, I just had a lot to learn. I had a lot to learn and a lot of space to grow. And in the moment you don't know what you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
um, until you find out.
Until you find out.
Yeah. That was one thing. So it's like, more than it was losing the relationship, it was the dynamics of peace that could have been there if I had been more mature in some other areas or more developed in some other areas. Um, but again, I needed it. I can't think of anything that I would change or anything that I would go back and do different because that equipped me. As much as it hurt, as much as I felt like, dang, it might have been a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time. It was a, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was the cost of process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was necessary. Like, yeah, sure, we have two beautiful daughters who also changed my life. Um, that experience changed my life, but ultimately, it got me prepared to be Tamara's husband,
Mm-hmm.
which I would have never been. I don't even think we would have made it that far if I didn't go through it first. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
And you
So,
have to know that I think sometimes we get so caught up on just thinking about, oh, we lost this and this happened, and but we don't start thinking about, well, if we hadn't been through that, if that didn't happen, where would we be? Because I can think back through a plethora of things. If it had not happened, I would absolutely not be who I am now.
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel good. The process hurts. It's uncomfortable. It feels like it's going to go on forever. Because processing, it keeps happening. Um, but we keep going through these cycles when we don't get I guess, the lesson in the
Yeah.
process. So I think that sometimes we need to think a little more about, okay, so this is happening in the midst of me doing this, and I'm saying I'm supposed to be this. What is this teaching me? What am I
Yeah.
learning? What is this going to do for me in the end, as opposed to, oh, this just hurts?
Yeah. Yeah. Once you start focusing on, and it took me a second to get that point too. Once I stopped focusing on the why is it happening and started focusing on the why is it happening, as in not why, what did I do
Why
to
me?
deserve this? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but more so like, why am I experiencing this? What am I not understanding? What am I
Mm-hmm.
not doing that will allow me to break this cycle? What lesson have I not learned um to be able to transcend this experience to you know what I'm saying, this thing that I'm going through? Like, shoot, I can make it even more practical. Lights would get cut off um because money wasn't properly
Yeah.
managed.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Those are young things, like, you know what I'm saying, like being what we was 19, 20, 21. So it's like I didn't and my a good portion of my college experience I was either homeless or I was in a dorm.
Mm-hmm.
So that bill paying experience, that
That wasn't
responsibility,
something you knew, right?
I didn't have that experience. I
Yeah.
didn't know about that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, yeah, you're gonna be somebody's husband, which probably wasn't the smartest idea. But God don't make mistakes.
He does not.
I do, but God don't make mistakes.
We
But
do.
it's like, man, okay, well, if you want to have a healthy, sustainable family, you probably want to be responsible, and be able to take care of your shelter and priorities and things. And again, it's like you gotta learn some kind of way at some point in time. You know what I'm saying?
And ideally, we would want to learn a different way, because we never want to go the
Yeah,
hard way to learn. It's like, okay, well, Lord, I can learn this way.
right.
But He absolutely knows what each of us in turn need to be able to get that lesson. And sometimes we'll look at other people and like they seem like they just sailed through. They didn't do this. And I'm like, they had a different lesson they had to learn. But the way
Yeah,
you needed to learn it was this way. I mean, even when we look at our children,
yeah.
we can tell them the exact same thing, and one child be like, okay, I got it. And they'll go do it. And then they'll, and
Mhm.
something else is off. But the other child be like, nah, I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
And then they going to learn when you decide to do it your way and mommy and daddy just told you there's
Mm-hmm.
consequences. And so it's just
Consequences.
different ways in which we learn. And we have to be willing to accept that every process is going to be different. Everybody,
Mm-hmm.
you might be in the same industry, you might be doing what you think is the same thing, but you're meant to reach different people. You're meant to reach a different, group, and that person might not be meant for them. So what you have to go through to reach them is different from the other person.
Yeah, yeah. And then too, we're all different and unique and have different perspectives and backgrounds that filter into what I can identify with most
Mm-hmm.
um, for me to get the lesson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember. Well, I'm sure you remember when your wonderful husband Aaron was speaking last, and he made the point of we have different gifts and skill sets, but if you give us all a standardized test, they won't really reflect how
Right.
I'm saying where we are. You have to give me a test that is relative
Applicable
to my
to me.
skill set and
Mm-hmm.
and 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 what I'm best equipped, what I was made for. So it's like you're not gonna be able to tell the agility or the stamina of a dog by trying to see how well or how fast he climbs a tree.
Right.
You can do that with
It's
a
not going to
cat.
work.
Maybe it'll give you an accurate reading for a squirrel if they're tired
Yeah.
or old. But as far as a dog,
That doesn't
that
work.
ain't for a dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, God knows what we need to pull out what's really in us. And I think the other part of one of the costs of process is patience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it costs you a bit of it costs you a bit of I have to endure. I have to have a certain level of stamina. And if you don't get it, you're just going to have to go through it until you develop the stamina to
Mm-hmm.
withstand what the process is producing out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that first, what also comes to mind is tennis training.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a coach as well. And a lot of times my students get frustrated because they understand the principle but they're having a hard time applying it. And what
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell them is that this is all new to you, and you have old muscle memory that is ingrained in your body from the things that you have been doing up till now. So if you've been doing a certain thing a certain way for 3 years, and you get this revelation of new understanding of how it's supposed to be done, and to find out that that was incorrect and this is the correct way, and I got to do it, it's like the understanding is just the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second part is I have to master the application of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure out how to do it, how to execute it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that stamina, it's like, okay, well, even though I know what to do, I may not have the skill set or the maturity of a skill set to actually execute it.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, you might have to hit 10,000 balls before your forearm is strong enough or your wrist is strong enough to actually do the stroke the way that you're supposed to do it.
Right.
You've not been using that muscle before. So now that you're trying to use that muscle, it is weak, but you got to get the reps in to strengthen it if you want to have a proper stroke.
And it reminds me because I'm multifaceted. So I've mentioned I think before that I'm also a personal trainer. And so I think of things sometimes in terms of muscle growth and development. Sometimes you start out a little weak, you don't quite know what you're doing. I mean, same thing. And as time goes on, you have to deal with some pain, you have to deal with some uncomfortability, you have to deal with repetitiveness, kind of doing the same thing, but it's a different outcome each time. Because each time that you do it, you grow. Each time that you do it, it changes. Each time that you do it, you become better. And your muscles, at some point, you end up seeing, okay, I can see the work that I've been doing. It's now evident. And it's the same thing when we're doing our process. We deal with these things. It might not feel good. We don't necessarily want to do it. You don't want to get up and do all the stuff that you know you should do every day. You don't. Like, I know I don't. There's
Mhm.
days where I want to lay in bed and do absolutely nothing, especially now, carrying this third baby. I want to do nothing. But at the same time, I understand that there is an outcome that I'm expecting. There is something else that I'm looking for. And it's not even just for me, it's for my children. It's for, those who I'm supposed to interact with. And so you have to be willing to work the process to
Mhm.
get the result. Like you can't just say, I'm going to wake up and this is going to manifest today. I hear y'all. I hear the manifest people. I hear you.
Right.
But that's not exactly how that works because then it's like, well, what's wrong with your hands? What's wrong with your
Mhm.
feet? What's wrong with what I placed in you to do? Like, yeah, there are some things that are just happen, that we have nothing to do with. But for the most part, it's like, well, I gave you everything that you need to make this come to fruition. But you have to be willing to walk through the process. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable and to lose some things. And that's not to say that, because I want to very quick put a caveat in there. That's not to say that when you have something that you're supposed to be doing, that you just need to get ready to lose everything. We're not
Mhm.
saying that because I also don't want that to be well, gosh, like what's the point of even? I don't want you to think that. There
You
are some
lose
things
what
you're
you
gonna.
don't need.
Yes, I say there are some things you're gonna lose that you just don't need. Now, if it's something that is intrinsic, you absolutely need it to be who you need to be, and it's supposed to be around, and those are things you don't lose. Um, but it's the things that are added weight, I guess, or added obstacles, added problems that need to go. And we don't always anticipate or understand when we're going through it that those are things that are extra and we're not necessarily needing because we're human.
Mhm.
In our humanity, we're, well, I love this and this is just a part of And then God himself was up there like, but I'm telling you, that's not, you don't want that. You really don't. But in us, our emotions and our humanity, we're like, well, everything that I have, I think I need, but you don't.
Right.
Um, and so this process is rough, but the benefits, I think, outweigh um, any of the cost. And it doesn't feel like that in the moment. I'm not going to stand here and be like, oh, yeah, it's going to be all roses and you're going to feel, no, it's going to hurt.
Right.
But in the end, that's where we're trying to get. So I know
Right.
we've been talking about the cost and the pain and the sacrifice and the loss, but let's switch it real quick and talk about the benefits, the end result, the what else you see after you endure that process.
And when you were thinking about it, I also have a lot of these thoughts and conversations I have through song. So
Mm-hmm.
I had like two songs where you were talking that made me think of one song. It's called Currency, and I, I've I've just kind of been thinking lately, like there are a lot of different currencies other than money.
Mm-hmm.
A currency is just a tool of exchange to get what you want from what you
Right.
have,
Yep.
and you earn what is a medium of exchange, something that can be accepted in your community, in your society, or whatever. So I believe that faith is a currency. Um, you spend your faith on what you want most. Now, um, biblically, faith is dead without works. Okay, I get it. But from a practical standpoint, if you believe something so strong, your actions are going to line up with what you believe. If I think that it's raining outside or it's going to rain today, I'm going to leave the house with an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
If I think that it's hot outside, if I believe that it's hot outside, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to walk out the house in a coat. I'm not going to walk
Right.
out the house in 3 layers of clothes and just because it's November. That is sensible, but it doesn't line up with your faith. It's
Yeah.
rational. It's logical. It makes a lot of sense if you didn't say that you believe something totally different.
Yeah.
If you believe the meteorologist, the weatherman, when they say it's going to be 70 degrees in December, then you're going to walk out the house dressed for 70 degrees. It's based off of what you believe. And so I think
Well,
the
I'm
process,
not, but I guess
yeah,
because I'm like, if
you
it's
shouldn't.
wintertime, it's winter.
But
That's
but
me.
here's the thing: you believe the season more
Yeah.
than you believe.
The
You know what I'm saying?
meteorologist. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's all in what you believe. Yep.
Yeah, it's where you spent your faith. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like if I believe that I'm going to be this world-renowned speaker and I'm going to travel the world, inspiring people, motivating people, and all, and this and X, Y, and Z. Well, at some point, your faith would lead you to learn how to speak, would learn how to read a room, would
Mm-hmm.
learn the dynamics of what's acceptable in society from speakers,
Yeah.
proper etiquette, and how you should function. Even if you don't go anywhere, have no engagements, there's a level of preparation that takes place because of my faith. You got me all in the Bible right now. Um, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 5, where it talks about divine faith. Yeah, I actually been talking about this in a prison that I frequent that I go to, and we started a kind of a series on this. I am nobody's pastor or preacher, but we started talking about it how where it talks about the steps to divine nature. Now add to your faith temperance and temperance X Y and Z
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. The first thing to add to your faith, though, you start off with faith, but the first thing to add it says to add to your faith is knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that you can believe for that you don't need understanding to accomplish.
Absolutely. Yep.
Um, so yeah, there's a cost. There's some sweat equity that the process will cost you. But here's the thing: if you pay for the process and you allow the process to do what you bought it for, then the process will give you a product.
Mm-hmm.
Just like anybody who you believe is certified to do what they do and registered or accepted their credentials have we back.
Yes.
Okay, cool. My bad. My wife is calling. She's on the way home now. Um,
Hey, wifey.
she doesn't know. My bad, I didn't forewarn her. But anyway, I'll try to get through this point real quick.
Yeah.
But anyone that you accept as having credentials for what they did, they had to get certified by someone for something. Here's the catch: you don't pay for a class, ignore the class, and ignore the class because you paid for the class because the class was supposed to produce a
Mm-hmm.
version of you that is good at whatever that topic or subject matter is.
Right.
So I remember when you were taking all these classes to be a certified personal trainer or fitness trainer. The whole reason that you paid your money for that class was because that was the cost to undergo the process to
Mm-hmm.
become actual certified trainer.
Yes.
But again, if we bring it back to the faith thing, it costs faith to even believe that you can become before you even start the process.
Absolutely.
If I believe that I can be, then I'll sign up for the class. And it why does this feel so preachy right now? Like it's all but it's like a lot of people, dang, some people that I know and I love dearly, a lot of people won't sign up for the class because they don't, dang it, they're bankrupt. They
Yeah.
they they funds low. They ain't got enough faith to believe that they can be what the process costs. That can be what the process will produce. So they don't pay for the process.
And that, man, you said that, I'm like, oh, that opens a whole other door that I'm not gonna go through. Because as soon as you said, I
I,
was like,
I,
oh,
it's sad. Like
yeah.
I was out of town. I was performed at a prison Monday in Jackson, Mississippi, and we stopped by Cracker Barrel. One like every 15 miles. Crazy on I-20. But we stopped at one, and you know the little triangle game where
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be like an IQ test, and if you can get all the way down to like
To
one, it's
yeah.
the you're a genius. Everything else they disrespect you. You're ignoramus. You're pretty dumb, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I asked the guy, our waiter. I said, "Hey, excuse me, sir." I said, "What's the trick?" I know it is one. I said, "What's the trick?" And it was kind of like a spoiler thing. It's like, man, I don't really want to know. I want to figure it out. But then it's like, man, tell me, go ahead and tell me. Just tell
Yeah.
me how to do it. He was like, I never played. I never tried it. He was like,
Mm.
I've been working here 3 years. I never tried it.
And never
Never.
even tried.
And immediately what that said to me is that, or what it reminded me of is that some people are they don't have the courage to do something because it seems like it's too challenging for them to overcome. It's like, man, that it just looked hard. I don't even want to try. And it's like, bro, you have an opportunity. Now, for me, I'm the type of person that's like, man, I have an opportunity every day to figure this out, to overcome this challenge, to kind of, if that's what I want, if that's what you want to do. I no disrespect. If he's not interested, he's not interested. But for me, it just kind of dawned. It's like, man, like I'm so hyper competitive and I want to win everything. I want to beat every challenge. I want to overcome every obstacle. That's just me. No judgment on him, but it just highlighted the fact to me that like some people won't even try.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are okay being around the process, seeing others undertake the process. Everybody want to feel like they smart. Everybody want to feel like I can do this. Yeah, I want to. I'll take the challenge. I'll step up, and it never, if that's the case, I want to be, accept all perspectives. But if that's the case, it never, nothing in you wanted to try, even try, because you felt like I can't. You've already decided I can't.
And
Yo,
that goes to a lot of different things because then the therapist to me comes out. But it's sometimes I don't think that it's necessary that people don't want to try. I think in well some cases, yeah, because I've seen some of that too. But there are other cases where it's just well, how? Because I've never seen it. Is my surroundings have never shown me how to do this. And maybe I tried something else and it didn't work. And
Mm,
so I'm a little skeptical about trying this, about believing that this could actually happen. Like nobody I know has ever did this. Like in my instance, like looking at my family and my history, like there is no one who has done some of the things that I've done. But if I had not run into certain people along the way, or certain situations, things that kind of shaped me a little differently, then I may
mm.
have been one of those who were like, yeah, I think I'm just going to stay here and be comfortable,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because it gets like that. Like you're just like, I think I'm just going to be okay with what I know.
Again,
Um,
it's hard to, if you don't have the vision, if you don't
yeah,
have the level of, if I have to make connections, if faith gives you a level of vision, of
yeah.
sight, to
Hmm.
where I believe that I can because I can see it. If you can't see it, if you don't have enough sight to see it, then
Hmm.
it's like, man, I'm not finna try that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Or if
not,
you don't have the people or the surroundings to push you to actually try
yeah,
it.
yes. Then it's like, well, what would I do that for? I can't do that. And it's like, man, it's so clear to me. Like you're perfectly equipped. It's like me?
Yeah.
Nah. Oh, I'm just X, Y, and Z.
I'm just that
I'm, I'm,
line.
I'm not, I'm
I'm
not,
just.
I'm not that. I can't be that. And but once you, and I'm one of those people. I was told one of those moments that changed my life was uh a Mr. Ronald Keith Tuck.
Ooh.
Right around this time when I first got serious about my faith, gave my life to Christ and all that good stuff. And I was a starter tennis team, one of the highest recruits or biggest recruit when I came in as my freshman year. And I think it was like my second year, my sophomore year. I got serious about Jesus, had an encounter, and he said to me, he said, "You're more than a tennis player." It might have been a year or two after that. He said, "You're more than a tennis player." And for me, it was like, what? More than a tennis? What do you mean? I've been doing this my whole life. Like,
Right.
how can I? I've been doing like I've literally been doing it since I was 3 years old. Like, I don't want to do no. I don't want to be more than a tennis player. I'm fine being what I've always been,
Yeah.
doing what I've always known to how to do.
What I'm
Being
comfortable in doing.
Yeah, I know my range here. I've come to understand the skill set and what it takes to be successful in this arena. I know this. I'm good here. And it's
Mhm.
like more than that was before music. That was before I started designing clothes and all that. Well, I did that back in high school though. Nobody really knows, but I didn't think nothing of the talents. And when I look back on it, it's like, man, I've been doing all of the things that I do now in a greater way. Um, I've been doing that forever. I've been performing
Mhm.
since I was 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? I've been artistically inclined. I've been playing. I played the trumpet when I was 8 years old. I used to perform at my family reunions. I give you $2. Show me the new dance all the kids doing. What they doing now? Don't now it's a TikTok. Show me do
Yeah.
the dance. Do the little dance. I give you $1. It should have been a stripper. But like I've been performing and I've been, what I'm saying, even when I got to high school, I was a class clown. Well, I was a school clown. I was a legend. I still am. Um, yeah, known for the tennis stuff and being an athlete, but I was more popular because of my performances. I would be in class and I had this uncanny sense of saying what everybody was thinking, but in a funny way. So like teachers didn't all the way feel disrespected because it was like I see how you can see have that perspective. But like my even when some of my classmates were like, man, your perspective's just always been different. Like you
Mhm.
just you just see everything through a different lens. And I love that about you. And for me, it's like, man, I'm just a rebel with a collar. I thought initially I was like, man, I don't fit in nowhere. I'm just gonna be me. Um, and I don't care what nobody else think about it. So I'm gonna call it how I see it. And not knowing that was what was going to attract the friends that a once loner thought wouldn't even been possible.
Yeah.
But again, it's like all of these things sprinkled throughout my life. Looking at it, they were like a part of my process, but I didn't know that they were going to produce an artist, a speaker, a mentor, a philanthropist, you know what I mean? Yeah, a tennis player, but also a tennis coach, like of the highest caliber. Um, I didn't know that's what, because being a coach is a little different than a player, because there's a level of people skills that you have to have. There's a level of communication skills that you have to have. And I think what makes I know what makes me unique and profitable in this field, is that is my perspectives. Being
Mm-hmm.
able to communicate my perspectives and not being afraid. Wow, thank you, God. I never even connected those two. So while I was using it for jokes in high school, those are the very necessary tools and the things that set me apart in my actual business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not ashamed to say, hey, you look a little, man, you look like you have some insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
um, in some areas, because you just do not want to change this stroke. It's like you're scared. It's like you know what I mean? Like the level of honesty that it takes to tell somebody what you really see about them, because
Yeah.
can see them better, and you can see what they're doing, and you can see why they're not doing the better that they're capable of.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, my my thing is doing some weird things right now.
You good?
Sorry. And I think that as we're gonna wrap it up soon, y'all. I know we're having a good conversation, but
Mhm.
I know we could only go so long. But as I'm thinking about that, these are things when I come to it, the benefits of the process as well, because all these things that we don't necessarily want to deal with or go through or you know have to even experience, that in the end we see how they help us to be exactly who we are today. Like you were talking about being able to point out people's insecurities and different things, in the same way I'm able to do that as well, but able to also push them past
Yeah.
that, because I understood what it took for me, and I understood the process, and I endured the process, and I dealt with all the stuff. Now, in no way am I like 100% with perfect and I got everything together, because we're still processing. But you are able to, what's the word? Recognize
Uh-huh.
that certain things because you have endured and dealt with.
Yep.
And I think that's important, especially as I don't know why my thing is, sorry, y'all. We're going to figure this out though. But especially as we are considering this process and we're considering, um, like how to get through and continue to process. We have to
Uh-huh.
think about what it means to come out on the other side, because there is another side. It's not
Yeah.
just we're going to be in here forever and we're never going to get to the other side and it's never going to look any different and we're always going to be in this place. That's not the case.
Uh-huh.
And I definitely want to just harp on that a little, and remind us that as dire and as crazy as it might look in its moment, there is an end to this particular process that you're dealing with, and then a beginning to another one, because we're always being processed, but it's just for different things.
And if I could,
Um, Go ahead.
I was gonna say then too, Savannah's been raptured. And then too, no, she ain't, because I'm still here. She can't
I'm
be.
still here. It's just my thing decided to do a whole lot of stuff. So y'all
Uh,
just ignore all that's happening over here and listen to what's going
no
on.
worries. But the benefit of the process is always going to be the product. It's always going to be what it produces.
Mm-hmm.
I accept it. You know, let's just say it's a workout situation, and I guess I'm the king of analogies. But if it's a workout situation, I signed up and I paid this trainer to hurt me every day
Basically.
for 12 weeks, because the product that I want is a changed body.
Right.
I want to increase my health. I want to increase my stamina. I want to increase my agility. I want to just get in better shape. I want to look better. I want to like what I see when I look in the mirror. The product is always going to be the biggest benefit, one of the biggest benefits of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another benefit that you may not always get to see is the impact that your that your process may have on other people, other people who
Absolutely. Yeah.
have have, have the opportunities of being a part of your process, or um they have the opportunity and the honor, the privilege of witnessing your process, whether they can be involved in it or not. And the profound impact that seeing you change and seeing you get the product at the end of your process, it encourages me to accept my process as well, or to be willing to go through a process or my process as well. It's
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a lot
It,
of. Oh, go
it
ahead.
becomes less about just us and what we're dealing with, and more about the end results. So more about, okay, what is this going to produce? More about, okay, who is this going to affect? Who is this going to whose life is this going to affect besides me? Because I believe that we're all processed not just for us. And you guys have heard me say this before, like basically all that we deal with is for somebody else. And I know that sucks to hear sometimes, because you're like, I don't want to deal with this, for somebody else. That ain't my thing. But in the end, we're all humanity. We're all connected in some way, shape, or form, whether we want to accept that or not. All races, colors, creeds, everybody is connected. And maybe one day we'll get to the point where we accept that and we stop harping on all these differences that we think we have. But and some of these are differences, of course, that we were made. You have a different skin color, we recognize that. But inside, you're still human. You have the same blood. You have the same. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But
Mhm.
this all comes down to us intrinsically being connected and using how we're processed to affect change, to help produce others, to bring others out of their low places, because there are sometimes where we're meant to like pull others out. Um, and we have to understand that this process is not just for us. Um, and it's not always going to be a bad thing, and it's not always going to be losing. But there are so many benefits that come as we allow, and it isn't allow, ourselves to be processed. Because you can just be like, I ain't dealing with it and I ain't doing it. But
Mhm.
then nothing ever changes. And you're looking at the same thing every day. You're looking at the same situation, the same people who maybe you needed to grow out of. Like you're looking at the same stuff, wanting something different, but looking at the same thing because you refuse to deal with the process.
Mhm.
So
I,
I mean, as we come to the end of this year, I don't really do New Year's resolutions because I know how quick those just in one and go out the other. Like I have people who will come to my class like, oh, I have to go lose this many pounds, by the end of January. And then
mhm.
I don't see them after January, because they lost just this passion, I guess. They lost
Mhm.
the belief in it because it wasn't working as they thought, because they didn't want to endure the process.
Mhm.
So with resolutions, I'm a little iffy, but I want us to really consider how we can intrinsically make some decisions and some changes, and decide, no, definitively that I'm going to deal with this process. It might not feel good, I might not love it, but I'm going to deal with it because the costs do not outweigh the benefit.
Yeah, you
You
can't
know?
make spaghetti with Alfredo sauce.
Oh, mm-mm.
That's that's
Mm-mm.
that's another song I've been working on. It ain't released or anything like that. But like, you cannot we you can't have the same product from a different process. You can't skip steps. You can't remove one part of it and then put in a
It's
different.
not a cut and paste.
Yeah, you can't change the sauce and expect to have the
No,
same end result. It's not going to be the same thing. It's just not. You have to follow the recipe to get the end result.
absolutely. So, I do want to go ahead and start in and out, but as we go into this new year, y'all know I'm all about practical things and about it being something that we can do intentionally. Because sometimes you'll hear people, say all these lofty things that you should do, but it starts within. It starts with our mindset. It starts with our heart, like what we have set in our hearts, the treasure in our hearts. It starts with us deciding, from this day forward, this is what I'm going to intentionally do. And this is what I'm going to intentionally allow. And this is what I want to see on the other side. So you have to, if you would talk to my husband, he would talk about goals and setting the plan and like step by step, but really intentionally thinking about that as we head into 2023. There are some of us who had big things in mind that we were going to have happened for 2022, and we're feeling some kind of way because it didn't happen, but we have to think back, like, did we really go through it? Like, did we allow the process, or did we kind of like stutter step? Did we go through all the stuff, or did we say, well, we'll come back to that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
because in the end, I know there's some things, man, and I will admit, I'll be the first to admit that there are some things that I did not intentionally allow, mostly because I just didn't feel like it. We don't always feel like the process. We just like, sometimes you just get tired.
Mm-hmm.
But because of my decision not to allow those things and to kind of stutter step, then I'm looking into now having to deal with those things in 2023 that I should have accomplished in 2022.
Yeah.
And that sucks because there's other things in 2023 that I'm supposed to be doing, but I have to divide my time to make sure it all gets done. So then that becomes a whole other situation. So
Yeah.
as we
And I
are,
think I
go
think
ahead.
too, I was gonna say if I can that I think that goes back to also accepting the process though.
Yeah.
Like I started off the year wanting to monetize my social media. I did. I got a couple $100 off of it, but it was like I slowed down the process because it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Like, a
You don't
hundred dollars
see the real benefit as you're going through the process.
for the time that I would have to put in and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, man, I strayed away from the process. Um, and so now I lost a little bit that I did have, but then also it's
Now you got to
I
build it back up.
yeah, and then I got off the path that I was on. I lost the momentum that I had when I was focused on the process more than the product.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get more focused on the product and not the process that will lead you to the product, or will produce the product, then it's like, man, you get discouraged because it seems like where I am in the process is so far away from the end result or from the product that
Hmm.
it's like you start to discourage yourself. It starts
Yeah.
it starts to tax your faith. It starts if
Absolutely.
for it.
When it
And
doesn't look like what you're expecting,
mhm,
start
I should have been there.
reconsidering the process.
Yeah, I should have had it by now. I should have. Man, it's supposed to be more than this by now. It's like, man, I've been putting in all this work for 3 weeks. Man, I done did all this for 6 weeks.
The 3 weeks. Yep.
I've been posting videos every day for like 6 weeks. Man, it's like,
Yeah.
man, them people don't they hating on me. They suppress me. I'm shadow banned, and it's
Yeah.
like, mm, maybe you're not posting good enough content,
Hmm. You have to
or,
think. I
or
mean, you have to think a little holistically when it comes to that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
or maybe you're not. Maybe if we keep with that example, or maybe you're not posting at the right times.
Hmm.
Maybe you're not. Maybe you are good for this level, and you were allowed to. In first grade, it's a certain level of success. Great. You can add 2 plus 2. You can add 3 plus 2. You can add 6 plus 2. All right, cool. That's not good anymore. You're not gonna grow if I keep accepting that as the
Yeah.
standard for excellence. As you grow, your standard grows. So the process is to produce a final product, but it's gradual. It is progressive.
Hmm.
So knowing how to add was cool when you first started.
Right.
Posting once a day, any time of day was cool when you first started. But now that I see that you figure this out, you done almost went viral one time. All right, we got to raise the bar a little bit. Because there's an expectation of you once you hit certain performance markers.
Hmm.
Um, feel like I'm preaching good, but
I mean, you talking real good. Might have to send you a little. You talking?
see, then once your performance once your performance hits a certain mark, okay, now we got to raise the bar to continue to push you to perform even higher. And you're thinking, I did it. I got 30,000 views. You know what I'm saying? I did it. I did something. It's like, no, sir.
But then the
The
process shifted
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
like
different requirements.
that was good for where you were, but
Hmm.
it's not where you're going. Where you're going,
Yeah.
you should feel bad if you ain't getting 600,000, 1 million. That is where you're going. And don't get discouraged because you feel like you're so far away, but know that this is a necessary step to get there. You know, they say
This
the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a first step.
first step, single step.
Yeah, so
And
it's like,
that's
oh, go ahead.
it. I don't know. I was gonna say it's hard because there's so much in this topic that you could just because I saw so many doors opening. And I was like, nope, can't take that door. Nope,
Mm.
can't go there because we'll be on here and this will become a whole movie at some point. And we'll oh, okay, get out of my head. Anyway, so you have to just be willing.
Write it down though. Write it down.
You know, on my mind, I'm like already 10 things I've seen. Anyway, um, but you really have to be willing, as we're thinking about this new year and we're considering what we're going to do differently and how we're going to go forward. We have to be willing to endure the process, and to really like stick in the process. I know we say we're going to do it, and we're all gung ho at the beginning of the year, but then gets to the middle of the year and we're tired and we just don't want to deal with it anymore. It doesn't look like what we think it should. We feel like we've lost too much. Um, the benefits just don't seem to be enough, to continue the process. Um, but there are things that we're getting along the way outside of just the final product that we have to kind of maintain. Like when you get more faith, when you get more um, courage, when you just feel yourself more confident. Like those are things, they're not so much tangible, but you're getting along the way to help you continue in the process. And every now and then, like you'll get like a little encouragement from somewhere, you'll get something. We have to like gather those things as we go along this process. Um, okay, so I'm going to stop there because I know there's so many ways I want to go, but I want to make sure that Terrell gives you all his social media because we got a whole lot. And I also want, I know, I want to end actually with the song, and I've heard it, I've listened to like all his music. I am one of his silent fans. If I ever don't ever tell him, but he knows this already. Um, I wanted to end. It's a song called Grateful. I'm gonna let him explain what it is and how it can be applicable to us as we're going forward into this new year. And that's actually how I'm going to end it. So I'm going to let him have his say with his social media. We're going to play this song. I'm going to say peace out, and then we're going to talk later, okay? So
All
take it
right.
away, Tura.
All right. You can find me everywhere. The number two, the word point, the number zero TNT. That's 2POINT 0 TNT. 2POINT 0 TNT. That's on all streaming platforms. That's on all social media platforms. Um, yeah, that's the music. And then if you're interested in the tennis, then you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook at the tennis to. That is THETENNIS underscore T underscore O. Yeah, that's me. And this song, Grateful, I'm honored that she even agreed to play it. It it spoke to me with this subject topic because um I just kind of recount some of the things that I've experienced, or a few of the things that I've experienced and the lessons learned from what some may see as a hard time, but for me, it was a process that I'm grateful for because it produced who I am today. Um, and it's like, man, with everything that you go through, the process. Um, and so looking at it, one of the things that that the process produced in me was gratitude because, man, I felt like, man, I'm worth all this. There's something in me that was worth all of this. And it's like, okay, now that I see what it produced, and it's like, shoot, I might be somebody out here. You know what I'm talking about? Look, let me find out I'm somebody.
Let me find out. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't send people to train toilets to combat training. You know what I'm saying? You don't send medical doctors to well, it is med school is technically a trade school, but you get what I'm saying. You send people that have the capacity to do a lot of impact or to make a large impact. They have to go to specialized training places, and they
Mm-hmm.
have to go through something that's a bit more rigorous than people who just want to do. you know, some things you don't have to do if you want to bag groceries or be a cashier at Publix. That's fine. You don't have to do that. If you want to be a manager at McDonald's, maybe have a bachelor's degree or a high school diploma. But if you want to do heart surgery,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you want to be a pilot,
Oh
if you
yeah.
want to be, you know what I'm saying, a soldier of any kind, just to be able to call yourself a soldier,
Yeah.
there's a level of training that you have to be, that you have to undergo to be able to qualify you just to start the job, not even to make you good at it, just to be qualified to do it. And so feeling like, man, all the things I've been through, man, shoot. And I'm not saying it's the worst or the most wretched, but it was hard for me or it's a lot for me or to me. And I felt like if there's something in me that was worth producing that kind of process, then it's like, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I wasn't allowed to quit. I wasn't allowed to give up, and that it was even, presented to me to take that route to be me. So yeah, that's it.
All right, so without further ado, we have Grateful by Terrell, aka 2.0. Please listen. I'm going to fade it out at some point, but I just want to make sure y'all listen to this and then go follow him, go find all his stuff is out there. Support, absolutely. Anyone I invite on here, I want you to support because they are worthy of support. So please go and find them. And I want him to go ahead and play his song, and then I'll see y'all next time for 12 Days of Gracefulness.
All righty. Oh, I forgot I was playing this. My bad. I messed up. I'm sorry.
Keep going.
It won't take long. I'm like, it won't take long. Hurry up. Hurry up. Don't embarrass me, computer. I said it wouldn't take long. It's taking longer than I wanted to. All right, here we go. Long is exactly how long it's taking. This is long. We have now stepped into long.
It's only because you're trying to rush.
Right. That's the only reason. Come on. Come on. Here we go. And play. And, and play. There we go. Really, just great. Yo, I done took it to the bank. Yo, I do finish over the bank. Yo, I was smell without a bed. Yo, taking showers out the tap. Yo, ain't no sympathy for that. Yo, I had to get up off my Yo, lady saying that she love me, but I guess it takes you long to say it back. I was caught up in the trap. Monkey all up on my back. To the beam, mama telling me straight ain't gonna pay for that. So disappointing as it ain't. Yo, I don't want to get a drink. Show me that I was a king. Show me how I never say. Show me that I was a tree. Ain't coins, ain't no fake boy. Is a transformer, get stepped on. Every blessed song and the last song and the loved ones and the loved ones who can't see it. It's a finish line and I see it. I'm just grateful that I be. That's me, so I meet. Keep the attitude. All I got is gratitude for you. I done lost a lot of folks who ain't coming back for me. Big guys say it's up. Get some altitude for me. Every challenge, every test. Don't do nothing but make me strong and humble. Grateful. Hey, why you stand up on that pew? Now they come see about me. Say I'm a real big dog, real big dog. Nobody ever there say I can be dog. They try to steal my crown, they try to knock me down. We turn up in the city, girl, you run the town. And when they see you strong, so they can't see you hurt. I told God I'm grateful, they came out my shirt. Say like a brother 2.0, they try to flex on me. I hope they understand, they got God on me. They like my brother 2.0, they try to flex on me. I hope they understand that I got God on me. Keep the attitude. All I got is gratitude for you. I done lost a lot of folks who ain't coming back for me. Big guys say it's up. It's some altitude for me. Every challenge, every test. Don't do nothing but make me strong and humble.
All right, y'all. That is Grateful by Terrell 2.0. Please go follow him, and I'll see y'all next time. All right. Have a wonderful day.